This computer.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. So we are doing a second video to talk about shifting your shit show schedule. What does that mean? So if you're finding yourself just completely overbooked, if you hear yourself saying, when people say, how are you? And you're saying busy, overwhelmed, tired, lonely, exhausted, feel like I'm doing the same thing every day. So and being packed back to back and feeling like you're asking yourself, where are you in all of this? I haven't done this hobby, that hobby. I haven't worked out. I haven't cooked some home cooked meals in a while. I should be spending more time with my partner, with my kids. If you find yourself saying any or all of that, you might have what we're calling a shit show schedule, which means that you are overbooked, overpacked, and maybe feeling like this is how it has to be right now. Like you just might feel like there's no way it can be any other way. There's so much going on. I have to be this busy. And we have created, Donna, Monty, and I have created a workshop that's going to challenge that a bit and see if we can work with you both the inner work, so the things that we're telling ourselves about our schedules, about our lifestyles, and the outer work, which really doing the inner work can create a natural byproduct of your outer world shifting. So your schedule shifting, finding that you might have more time, seeing that there's more possibility and space in your schedule than you saw before. So we're talking about, how do you do that? And one of the things that we want you to know is that we are credible in this area, meaning that we have lived it. And what I will say is that sometimes we both, I know for myself, sometimes I still live it. But the difference is now that when I notice that I'm overpacked or overbooked, I know how to shift it. And I'm no longer feeling stuck and resigned to it and feeling like this is the way it is and it just has to be this way. I'm empowered to make a difference and shift it. So we're going to tell you a little bit about our stories. And today we're going to talk about Donna. So Donna, I would like to hear a little bit about, so when you were immersed in the shit show schedule of just having this packed lifestyle, I'd love to hear kind of how you got there, if you even know that, kind of how you got there, because sometimes we just wake up in it and we're like, oh my God, I am just burnt out. How you knew that you were there, and then a little bit about how you came out of that.
Yeah. Thanks, Odd. And I think a big part of this for me was I do call myself these days a recovering Wonder Woman, because I think so many of us are praised for managing a lot,
Mhm.
praised for juggling the kids, the family, the house, the car, the doctor's appointments, all the things, aging parents, all the things that you were describing. And for me, I think I really woke up to the fact that I was in the middle of a shit show schedule. I found that uh I was raising my son by myself 5 days a week, 6 days a week. I just divorced his my son's dad. He was living close, so he was, but he had a crazy schedule, and so it was like I was going to be with him 6 days a week and he was going to go to his dad's one night. It was what we knew kind of had to happen. So I was doing that. I was working a big job that was super complex. My son also had at that time, still has, but he was 8 years old, ADHD, sensory issues, going to school, I was running the rat race. I was doing like run it, drop him off at school, go home, or go to work, come back, pick him up, bedtime, homework, bath time, all that other stuff. Then I would go do the dishes, or I'd see a coaching client on the side. Like I was sun up to sundown constantly. And for that one day a week when I was by myself, I was finding myself like, I'm just going to go out to the bar down the street and it has 80s music. I'm just letting loose. Well, I wasn't letting loose. I was like drinking to almost blackout most of the time when I was going out. And I was doing things like I went to the doctor for my checkup at the end of that year, that first year, or after the first or second year that I'd been divorced, and found that I had gained 50 pounds in one year. Because whenever I got done with the sun up to sundown responsibilities, going nonstop complexity, I would sit on the couch and numb out and watch TV and eat crappy food and do what I could to get through. So I think I started to so things were starting to crack. I was starting to get a little like, I was crying a lot and things like that were happening. But I think one of my big wake up calls was I can't remember. I think it was like 2014, 2015. I was rushing to take my son somewhere. We were reconsidering schools, and I was taking him to this. He had a week at this new school that he was trying out. And as we were walking, I'd been rushing my son. It's raining, and I stepped in a pothole, didn't even see that I stepped in it, and felt my ankle like I heard a pop. And I was and I remember getting across the street and being like, and it's raining, and I'm like, I just have to get you to school. Like I didn't even I was like really just rushing and like I just got to get you to school. So then I get
Like
him.
you totally ignored that. Totally
I was sort
ignored
of
the
like, ow, ow, ow. But you know what? Like, I'll just keep pushing through. I'll handle it when I get to work. I just got to get so there was again this like totally like numbing out to like what I needed. And then I rush him to the school. They're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm fine. I need to get to work." So there was another, I have to get to work because I have to interview someone and I can't cancel it. Of course, I could have canceled it, but I was like, I have to, like that real, like I have to, I don't have a choice. Like I'm the committed one. I'm the one that gets things done. I'm the count onable one was like in full effect and kind of like, I'm sure it's fine, but and so I'm like, get up to work. I'm like hobbling into work. Everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" And everyone's trying to tend to me. And I'm like, I'm fine. I just have to do this interview and I will handle it afterwards. I mean, can you hear it, Audrey? It's like, it's so strong. This like, and I know I'm not alone in this. It's like, that's how the armor of like, I just have to get this done. Then I can handle whatever
Mhm.
needs to be handled. So I did the interview, blah, blah, blah. Of course, we probably didn't even hire her because I was just like, of course, I did all this. And then it wasn't even like a good interview. But then I'm like, again, people are kind of like trying to help me. And I'm almost like, just get like, it's too much. Everybody just leave me alone. Like, I don't want to be fussed over. But by the time so then I'm like looking at my ankle and it's like swelling up. And then finally, like my coworkers and my boss were like, you have to go like to the hospital. So long story short, went to the hospital, fractured my ankle. Now I'm finding out that I'm in a boot or a cast, you know, and on crutches in New York City, which is like a nightmare to get around anywhere, like, on
Mhm.
crutches. I get home and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, how am I going to do this? Like all of a sudden it becomes really clear that I cannot do the push through. I'll just handle it all. It's like I can barely, it's like I still don't even know what exactly. I know it's fractured, but like then I have to go to some orthopedic. But the long story short was like, I feel like I've been saying it's like what was more painful than a fractured ankle was like my pride. This sense of
Mhm.
like, it was so painful to be like, all these things, all the ways that I've kept the train running to stay on top of the schedule, to make sure everything's happening, to make sure the bills are getting paid is like to rely on my own strength and will and my fortitude. And now I can't. And all of a sudden I'm like having to like, well, I guess I could have chosen to just hobble to school with him and hobble back and blah, blah, but I did finally like go, I'm going to need help. And I started letting people like I had people that then took my son to school and dropped him off. His dad would normally have done that, but didn't live close to us. Like it would not have worked. So I had lots of friends that were like, we can take him to school. We can pick him up. I had friends come over and help me clean my house. I had a friend come over and wash my hair because I was like, I can't get in the shower
Mm.
yet. I don't know what to do. And I had friends help me figure out how I was going to get coffee from the kitchen to the living room with crutches. Like, how is that going to happen? Um, I had friends go with me to doctor's appointments. So I like, it sounds like it was so easy, but it was really challenging. I had a really hard time in the beginning, even asking people, but I started to see that the more people that were helping me, like how relieving it actually felt. So there was the part of me that was embarrassed and humbled and felt really vulnerable. But there was also the part of me that was like, wow, being helped and being supported actually feels really good. And I have to start working. And so as I was, you know, so I spent 4 weeks in a boot and whatnot, but it was the beginning of me really seeing that, like, it's a matter of me. In that case, it felt easier because I was hurt, right? So but that was lesson one. Then it was starting to learn in all those places in my life where I'm like, well, I have to do this, or I have to say yes to this, or I have to make sure that this gets done. I had to start questioning my belief about, do I have to? Or are there just some really uncomfortable requests, or what feels uncomfortable in those moments? Like, do I like do I need to ask his dad to change his schedule at work, even though that might be really hard? Do I really just have to take it on and assume that I have to do it just because it might be uncomfortable for him? So part of the inner work was really starting to challenge my beliefs around what was possible and really start to go, my capacity, my limits, this overscheduled shit show that I was living and overwhelming was costing me. Again, I'm drinking to blackout. I'm crying all the time after work events that used to be really fulfilling and, really empowering for me. Gaining 50 pounds, like, I'm not okay. And I got to
Mhm.
start really paying attention to, you know, what is it that, and we'll be talking about this in the complimentary workshop, is really having everybody slow down and go, is it really true that I don't have a choice? Like, you know, it's not like I cut out a whole part of my life that I was no longer responsible for, but I had to say, given all these responsibilities, what do I want to or need to ask for that I'm really afraid to? How do I work with that so that I'm willing to ask these questions? Like, I was part of in charge of events at work, and one of the events that we did was in Paris. And I just said to my boss, I was like, I just this was after my leg was healed, but I was like, I just can't do it with my life, with the amount I'm responsible for here, not just in my personal life, but at work. I'm like, me going to Paris and all of that, being there physically, I can't do it. And we had to reorganize how that got handled. I mean, there was someone else in charge of the event that went there, but again, I would have thought in the past, I would have been too shy. I would have been like, there's no way. I would have been like, just suck it up and go. Like, this is what you're getting paid for. Would not even have had that question come out of my mouth. But I had to start. It was like the strain on my capacity was real. And I
Mhm.
had to get responsible for that and get on my own side about that. But I used to say a lot about how I was just I should be able to do this. I should be able to handle it. I don't know why I'm getting so upset, but I was like, I was at capacity. So
Mhm.
to me, that's the exciting thing about this workshop we're doing, is like really helping people slow down and go, where is it that what am I not asking for? What
Mhm.
am I afraid to say? So anyway, that's a little bit
How
about
did
my story.
how did it feel? Because from where I'm sitting, and I'm kind of putting myself in the shoes of other people that are listening and that this might be new to them, like, to me, that sounds like a big ask to go to your boss and say, like, I know that we have a big event in Paris, and like, I cannot do it right now. And there was a restructuring of everything so that that could be accommodated for you.
Yeah.
How did that feel for you after the accommodation was made and you had heard the message that it was a no for you right now, and then you had spoken your truth and
Yeah.
asked for what you needed, and there was a resolution? How
Yeah.
did you feel internally after that?
Well, I want to pause and say, Um, it didn't happen. It sounds like it happened easily and quickly with all those parts, but I have this idea that I really don't like, that this really doesn't work for my life. I'm freaking out about it. I probably talked to my coach at the time. I probably talked to like every single one of my friends. I probably wrote an email so that I could get my thoughts in order before I would even ask her. And I
Mhm.
went in kind of like she's also been a single mom. I have his dad to help me, but like was raising her daughter primarily by herself as well. So I knew that she would also understand where I was coming from, but I had no idea. I just knew I had to advocate for myself. It was like I started to promise that.
Mhm.
So when it got accommodated, I was like, where else? I felt elated. Like I was like
Elated.
elated. It was
Yeah.
like relieving. It was eye-opening. It was there probably was some grief over like not having like where else have I not been asking and tolerating and tolerating and tolerating? Where else have I not done that and feeling a little like sad for myself or upset with myself that I hadn't done it before? But mostly it was like it felt like I had discovered some like new land. Like it was just
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
was, because it was like, wow, all these assumptions I have and continue to have at different stages of my life about what's possible, what's not possible, what can I ask for, can I not ask for. But learning more and more to trust that inner guidance around if I'm getting a real no inside, I've got to find a way to honor that versus, or at least challenge any assumptions I have about what's not possible. I don't know how many times I was like, I can't possibly ask my neighbor to take my son to work or to school. That's my
Mhm.
job. I should be doing that. That's, like, that's my responsibility. But then, I get hurt and it's like I finally say yes to it and how willing people were. And people are already taking their kids to school anyway. It's not that big of a deal to like do that. But in my head, that was like a no way that's ever going to happen. Do you ever do that? Like, no way that I could
Oh
have,
yeah. Yeah.
right? It's
And
like,
then you do something and then you realize how long you've been making up stuff that's not accurate.
totally.
But we have to get through the discomfort of what stops us. And one of the things that I want to highlight that, you mentioned, Donna, is that you said that when it's a no inside. And so, what I think that for some of us who do have these shit show overscheduled schedules is that we get to the point where we're just on autopilot and we may not even be able to hear inside, is this a yes that I want to do something, a no that I want to do something? I don't even know. I just know that I'm the one who saves the day. I'm the one who does all the things. I'm the one who gets shit done, so I'm going to do it. It'll just
Right.
be easier and faster if I do it.
Totally.
We could be operating on top of our inner self is going, no, 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 no. Like I'm assuming there were a bunch of no's, and then it got to the point where your body went, I'm going to fracture your ankle to get your attention because the alcohol's not working, the gaining that much weight is not working. So
Totally.
let me fracture your ankle, and then maybe you'll pay attention. so,
Well,
so
and
one of
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So one of the things that I want to highlight in our complimentary workshop is that that's one of the things that we'll be covering is how do we hear what our authentic answer is on the inside?
Right.
And then when we go, oh, it really is a no, and then what might come up are all the reasons why we want to make it a yes instead of a no, because we were raised that way. Be polite, be helpful, whatever the messaging is. And
Totally.
then how do you work through that and then be true to yourself?
Totally.
And I hear that that's the process that you went through, and you had elation, you had a little bit of grief of like, oh, this was like really impactful, realizing that my life could be more like this, living in alignment with my true self. And there's sadness around where have I not done that? But now you have the choice to choose that, which is
Right.
awesome.
Right. And a big piece of that was it's like, yes, to be listening to my truth was like a big healing thing, right? Like knowing I'm on my own side, I'm listening, I'm not abandoning myself or, going against myself is a huge thing for women, right? Like where we're like, but we can't because of this and that and whatever. The other part was like letting myself get help.
Yeah.
Like, as someone, again, recovering Wonder Woman here, it's like I said, I've always felt like I had on the cape because everybody loved me when I had the cape on. I got a lot of accolades for like being the count honorable one, for getting stuff done, for sticking it out and making sure it was like excellent and all that stuff. But I was like, I was starting to wear the cape to the bathroom, to the grocery store, to the like mall. There's no malls in New York City. I guess there's Like, you know what I mean? Like I was wearing that cape
Yeah.
everywhere and it was getting a little like, the cape was getting a little gnarly and I was
Mhm,
getting a little gnarly. One of the
mhm,
other things was like I had a high tolerance for fine. I'm fine. I'm fine.
mhm,
Totally fine.
mhm,
Let's just say when your doula, after you give birth naturally, tells you that she's never met anybody with a pain tolerance like me, that
mhm,
showed me like, yeah, there's something off here when I can like I want to celebrate. I like being strong. No one is saying it's not good to be strong and it's good to be count onable. It's good to be all of those things. What it was doing though is like it was when I was in that space, it was like my needs went out the window, my sense of self and any sort of like people being like, "Do you need help?" My knee jerk reaction was like, "No, I'm fine. Fine. Totally fine." Wasn't
mhm,
fine. Yelling at my kid after school. I'm like I said, I was drinking too much. I'm like, I'm on edge. I'm at my, dishes in the sink were making me cry. Like,
mhm.
but it wasn't because of the dishes, it was because of the overextension. And Audrey and I were having a conversation about this a couple weeks ago, and we were like, we have such compassion. We're hearing the same things from, not only in our own lives. And again, I have to say, like, I did end up shifting my career. It's not required to make space in your calendar, but I shifted from being an employee to having my own practice and developing it in a way where I have more space in my life. But sometimes that's not possible. And
Mhm,
sometimes you don't have family around that can help out. And sometimes you don't have extra money to hire people. I didn't have extra people to hire. I didn't have extra money to hire people. And so we just want to help you see because of what we're hearing, it's like we want to serve people and like it starts with that inner like, oh, I can ask for help. Oh, I can say no. I mean, I was scared I was going to say no. And my boss was going to be like, well, then you can't have this job because
mhm.
you can't fulfill the requirements. So, I feel really lucky that she responded in the way she did. But had she not, I'm like, I don't know what would have happened. But part of it is like, I had to get right with like, I need to stand up for what I need and we'll take it from there. And so I think it's really important that we're just starting to pull back the curtain on I can't. That's not possible. This is just the way it is. And really start to go, well, where can I shift things? What
Yes.
can I start asking for that I might think is impossible? So yeah,
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
you're so
And
welcome.
and I hope that for all of you that are watching and listening, that I just invite you, if something got touched, if you could relate, or if you got triggered, if you got upset, if you judged either one of us during this our time together, there might be something there for you to dig a little bit deeper. And we invite you, just come. It's complimentary. It's 2 hours. I know that 2 hours is a lot of time. I know that it is for me, and away from my kids, but it is for you. It's for you. So consider it a gift for you to just check inside and see how you're doing, but like really how you're doing, and see if we can create some more space, and a healthier relationship with yourself on the inside and the out. So
Absolutely.
we'll put in a link to register, and of course you can ask us any questions in the comments as well.
Yep, it's gonna be on Saturday, May 4th from 9 AM to 11 AM Pacific time, 12 to 2 Eastern time. It will be recorded, but we really recommend you come live. There'll be some live coaching, as we go through the exercises. And, yeah, we'll put everything in the links below. Thanks for spending time with us. Thank you, Audrey, and I look forward to
Yes.
seeing whoever's called on May 4th.
Okay.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye. Don't remember how